Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. The LGBT plus declaration signed by the Mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, not only became the leading subject of the political campaign for the upcoming European Parliament elections, but also the cause of a heated debate between the defenders of traditional family values and leftist groups.
Hundreds of educators are waiting to enter schools. The only thing stopping them is the parents' movement. Grzegorz Przemysław from the Civic Families Initiative believes that a swift reaction against the sexualization of children is needed. Already in kindergartens, children are being taught on plush sexual organs how humans reproduce. There are many examples like this. About a year ago in Switzerland, some parents protested against such practices, and the tribunal in Strasbourg said that the protest had no grounds, since the state has the right to educate about sexuality. The debate concerning the sexualization of children has unexpectedly become one of the most important subjects of the political campaign for the European Parliament elections. You can barely call it education. It's not education, but rather a social indoctrination technique. What lies in its center? A very early sexualization of children. Mr. Kaczyński, I say this as a mother and a teacher. Stop using children as live shields in your political campaign. The currently ruling Law and Justice Party is particularly concerned about the point of the declaration, which allows for an anti-discrimination sexual education for children aged 4 and younger. It encourages teachers to educate the children about the joy of masturbation, different kinds of relationships, and exploring various sexual orientations. Children who are 4 or 5 years old really don't need to learn how to put on condoms. Let's be serious. I think there wouldn't be that big of a fuss if the document was phrased properly or even reviewed by the Warsaw Town Hall legal department.
I myślę, że nie byłoby całej tej burzy.
Temat LGBT nie jest przypadkiem. The LGBT debate is not circumstantial. It's a tactic to get the votes of non-conservative, non-Catholic voters. It's a so-called positioning tactic used by the European coalition to gain a devoted electorate.
Czyli to jest tak zwane pozycjonowanie się.
This proposed form of sexual education is to take place in all Warsaw schools. The classes won't be obligatory and will only be available to students whose parents give permission.
The Polish Central Anti-Corruption Bureau has arrested 6 members of a suspected organised crime group in the region of Silesia. The group allegedly defrauded a number of companies and the National Centre for Research and Development out of millions of Polish zloty. Among the arrested are the brother and former assistant of Elżbieta Bieńkowska, the Polish European Commissioner for Internal Market, Industry and Entrepreneurship, who is one of the closest allies of the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk.
Officers of the CAB Katowice unit detained 6 people who extorted 2 million zlotys from the National Centre for Research and Development. An additional 10 people tried to extort money from a group producing fruits and vegetables. The detainees will be transported to the prosecutor's office in Katowice and will hear charges of running an organized crime group and money laundering. CAB officers are currently searching the homes and offices of the arrested. Today, that is on March 11, 2019, on the request of the district prosecution in Katowice, 6 people were arrested. They were then moved to Katowice, where they will face charges and be questioned as suspects. The detained may face up to 15 years in prison. The prosecutors intend to charge the arrested with involvement in an organized crime group between 2012-2018, committing financial fraud, bribery and extortion of EU funds. The leader of the group, Lech B., was once an assistant of a former senator, who is now a Polish commissioner in the European Parliament.
Changes to Mateusz Morawiecki's government are expected to be made in the coming days. That's according to Law and Justice Party politicians. However, commentators expect that the significant changes will take place after the European Parliament elections in May.
The head of the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, Michał Dworczyk, said today in the Sygnały Dnia radio program that binding decisions regarding the date of changes in the government and personnel will likely be made in the coming days.
Kto wejdzie do
The voters will decide who will enter the European Parliament. Therefore, premature changes and reshuffles in the Council of Ministers would probably not be a good idea, because it's not always wise to anticipate who will become an MEP, but according to my knowledge, there is still some discussion at the moment. The Prime Minister talked about it in recent days, that these decisions have not yet been made, whether this reconstruction will take place after the elections to the European Parliament or perhaps even before them. Let's wait. Decisions in this matter will be made in the coming days.
Na pewno zapadną w tej kwestii decyzje.
Publicists we spoke to on this subject are in agreement that the government should be expected after the elections to the European Parliament.
Gdyby takie zmiany zaszły przed eurowyborami.
If such changes were to take place before the European elections and certain people were not to get into the European Parliament, it would look terrible. The strategy of the Law and Justice Party is that they say they do not get rid of professionals, just have a very long bench, so they always have people to replace others. So if someone takes up a seat in Brussels, there will be somebody to take their place here. If they got rid of them earlier, then it would not look good.
Jest aż tak bardzo długa, jak można by się było spodziewać.
The editor-in-chief of Do Rzeczy Weekly, Paweł Lisicki, believes speculations concerning personnel changes in the current government are premature. Guessing who will replace who or what changes will occur, whether some ministers return or not, is not reliable and brings very little to the conversation. The European Parliament elections will take place on May 26th. In the upcoming term, Poland will be able to field 52 MEPs.
Baghouz, the last stronghold of the Islamic State in Syria, is about to fall. As territory is regained, more and more atrocities are uncovered. Recently, British SAS forces found 7 heads of 50 Yazidi sex slaves in one of the city's suburbs. Hundreds of ISIS foreign fighters are still holed up in the city. European countries are now debating whether their citizens who joined the terror group should be allowed to return.
The case of Shamima Begum, a British-Bangladeshi teenager who joined ISIS together with 2 of her friends, is front-page news in large parts of Europe. The teenager is now asking for the British authorities to allow her to return to Great Britain. However, Home Secretary Sajid Javid decided to instead strip her of her British citizenship. As the battle for Baghouz continues, Kurdish SDF forces claim that ISIS has been forced to retreat after heavy fighting this weekend and are now confined to an area next to Baghouz mountain.
We are now in the middle of the camp, which was once controlled by ISIS. We can say we are in the beginning part of the camp, which is a very large, pretty large area. ISIS is now confined into a small, tiny area under the mountain of Baghouz itself.
The perspective of ISIS losing their last stronghold makes the issue of whether to allow ISIS fighters from Europe to return back more pressing than ever. ISIS wives are now regularly interviewed by European media companies. They claim that Europe has to take them back.
We also have a sentence waiting for us in Belgium, 5 years. And I don't even fight this, you know. I made a mistake and I need to get punished for it. I think we are already getting punished for our mistakes by being here. We are here for 1 month, for 1 year and a half. And this is really, really torture, mental torture, physical torture.
However, experts on terrorism state that the likelihood of ISIS families being successfully de-radicalized are small, and if allowed to return, will constitute a threat to European citizens for years ahead.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily Weather. It's followed by the business, and then it will be the culture, history and the travel.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. Rain will appear in most regions except northwestern Poland. Temperatures ranging between 0 in Olsztyn to 5 degrees in Kraków. In central Poland, temperatures is ranging about 3 degrees. Overcast sky without rain will be along the Baltic coast. Pressure will be low. And now over to tomorrow. Rainfall is expected in the southeast. Snowfall will appear in Łódź, Katowice, Poznań and Białystok. More sunlight we will see on the north. Temperatures will range from 2 to 7 degrees. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. Wednesday will be an overcast day in central Poland. A maximum 9 degrees is expected in the southwest. More sun will appear on Thursday. Temperature is ranging from 6 to 8 degrees. On Friday, overcast weather will appear almost all over the country, but northern Poland will stay sunny. A maximum 11 degrees and a minimum 8 degrees in the east. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Poland Daily Business Edition, and in our studio in Katowice is Mr. Mariusz Szpichowski, CEO of Polish Airports. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation. Good morning.
It's our pleasure. The key topic of many conversations right now is the central airport that is going to be built between Łódź and Warsaw in Poland, and this is an investment that is said to be very ambitious. Why such an ambition and risky project is being considered?
Well, I wouldn't say it's just risky and ambitious. I would say it's very necessary. It's depending on the fact where we want to be located as Poland in terms of the worldwide routes. Right now we are just a site. With Chopin Airport capacity constraints, as I've said, last year we had 15.75 million passengers, and according to all the forecasts, for the next 9 years, Chopin Airport will not be able to serve approximately from 9 to 15 million passengers. It means that every second passenger would have to be denied. Yes, so that's the major reason why you want to move to a different location where we have the airport that's got no constraints. So let me remind you that this already happened in the past. It already happened in the past. In early 30s of the previous century, the airport for Warsaw is located in Pola Mokotowskie. Yes, exactly in the center of Warsaw right now. It was moved out of the city, far away, to a village named Okęcie. And right now Okęcie is a part of Warsaw, directly surrounded by 317,000 passengers, and the airport impacts directly, I would say, even 900,000 passengers. So this is what we're talking about. So first of all, we have constraints. The airport cannot be further developed to meet all the demand that we have. And second point is our major strategy. Our major point is just to operate as a hub, which means that all the routes should lead through Warsaw and via Warsaw, and not from Poland through foreign hubs. What it means? It means all commercial routes would lead through foreign hubs. In this scenario, commercial routes would lead through Warsaw. What it means to economy, I don't need to convince you.
Well, it's being said that it's good to learn on somebody else's mistakes rather than your own. Well, I'm not a follower of this maxim, although I know it. Is the investor of this new central airport in Warsaw learning from the Germany's mistakes and problems that are with this huge investment in Berlin?
Definitely. So what I would say, the first point is just to devote as much time as needed on the planning stage. So we need to plan properly. You need to foresee the unforeseeable things. First of all, if we look at the Berlin project, I'd say it was a local project. It was not a federal project. Yes. Second point, it wasn't consolidated. It wasn't well, I would say, managed in terms of how it was done. They were just looking for savings. There were just relations with directly with the contractors, no general contractor, and so on. So definitely those issues and all the aspects are carefully looked at. And a lot of time is spent on the analysis, on the planning phase, just to avoid all those mistakes. However, please keep in mind, it's a key project for Poland, which is supposed and which is just targeted to place Poland on the main commercial and economic routes of all worldwide, I'd say. Yes, that's the point. So definitely we need to take a lesson and we need to take advantage of our position.
That's a very important project and we wish you well. Hopefully soon we will fly from this fantastic new airport.
No doubt.
Sir, Mr. Mariusz Szpikowski of Polish Airports was our guest.
Thank you very much.
And that was Poland Daily Business.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Rainfall is expected in the southeast. Snowfall will appear in Łódź, Katowice, Poznań and Białystok. More sunlight we will see on the north. The temperature will range from 2 to 7 degrees. And now let's see tomorrow's forecast for our continent. Snow with rain will dominate in Oslo, with temperatures ranging about -1 degree. Higher temperature in Central Europe. There we will see about 9 and 11 degrees. In Central Eastern Europe we will also see a lot of snow. There the temperature will range from 0 in Moscow to 5 in Kiev. The highest temperatures, 23 degrees, is expected in Sofia. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Przemysław Chojecki is an AI entrepreneur with a PhD in mathematics and a member of Forbes 30 Under 30 list in Poland. He did his PhD in Paris at University of Pierre and Marie Curie, then became a research fellow and a lecturer at the University of Oxford. After returning to Poland, he took up research on artificial intelligence and mathematics and founded a technological group, ulam.ai, where he is the CEO. Within the group, he co-founded multiple AI ventures ranging from logistics to the fashion market and using cutting-edge technologies.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. I'm Paulina Otterstein and my guest today will be Przemysław Chojecki. Przemek, hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
So you have a PhD in mathematics and also you are developing artificial intelligence. So could you tell us more about it?
Sure. So my road was pretty bumpy to this point. I spent basically my whole life doing pure mathematics, like without any applications whatsoever. And I did my PhD in France, and then I spent 5 years in France altogether doing my master's and my PhD. And then I went to Oxford in the UK, where I spent another 2 years doing a fellowship there, a research fellowship. And then at some point I decided that I want to firstly go back to Poland after 7 years of emigration, and then try to do something bigger than just research and try to apply that kind of research to real business problems. And this is how I started Ulam AI, which is a company named after Stanisław Ulam, who was a Polish mathematician working in Project Manhattan. That was the project concerned with building atomic bomb.
And you mentioned that you lived abroad, so why did you decide to come back to Poland?
I love Poland. No, to be honest, I really missed Warsaw. So I'm from Warsaw, and after 7 years being abroad, I wanted to go back and see how the Poland changed, because actually when I was flying to France for the first time, Poland was still very developing country, and that changed a lot. So I was like going back and forth between Poland and France, Poland and the UK, approximately every like 2 months, so I could see all the changes, could talk with my friends, and then at some point I decided, okay, I would like to be part of what's happening here in Poland, of the whole change. And that was for me it was fantastic, because I really see a lot of a change, a big shift in mentality and in the possibilities that are here.
So you feel like this is your home? And
yeah, definitely.
And you're featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. What is it like to be acknowledged in that way?
That's very nice. So Forbes is choosing every year basically 30 people under 30 to acknowledge what they're doing. I was awarded that together with my business partner Witold Kowalczyk for developing Bohr Technology. That's a company doing software for quantum computers. So that's like very hard. Of mathematics and physics.
And you're not only involved in that, but you also write books and you do vlogs. And can you tell us something about that?
I try to connect all the dots, but for me it's one picture that I have in mind. So my end goal is to be able to create artificial intelligence at the level of human being, which would help human as a companion in most mundane tasks. So that's a big problem, starting from big corporations to smaller companies, that you have many really annoying jobs that you would like to get rid of, like reading documents and like filling the tax forms, like stuff like that. So why not give all that to machines, to computers? So first of all, I have this business part, then I do research on artificial intelligence, and then the last kind of activity that I do is writing books. So far I have written 3 books.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah, so first 2 were totally, that was basically about going back from abroad to Poland, because I was writing these books when I was in Oxford, and I was thinking whether I should go back, and all those 2 books, they are called Bystry Potok and Plac Zbawiciela, are basically about coming back to Poland and what dilemmas of a young man, what would be the problems of actually coming back. So I tried to answer that to myself. I answered that by writing a book. Then I published that thanks to Papierowy Motyl, that's the publisher here in Poland. And then the third book, which was pretty recent, it got out basically, I guess, like 4 months ago, is called Jak być 20-latkiem, or the English title, because there will be a translation, is How to Survive Your 20s.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's a book which I also have written for myself, basically as a gift for my 30th birthday. Mm-hmm. I wanted to summarize the third decade of my life.
So it's like a diary.
It's kind of like short essays on different aspects of life, but basically about what didn't go well. It's not like I'm not trying to be a coach. I'm not trying to guide anyone saying, "Oh, you should, look at me. I have made this."
So it's
mistake.
not a positive book. It's more...
it is positive in the general picture, but it's not positive in the sense that I'm not giving anyone guidelines of what should be done. Mm-hmm. I'm rather saying that, "Hi, I did that and didn't work out. Think about it. Maybe you can do it differently. Maybe I did something wrong." So there are like many reflections around, both from business perspective to relations, to with people, to romantic relations, to journeys, to trips. So that all that is covered.
And yes, sorry.
And it's fantastically illustrated by my friend Kasia Sura. So I just wanted to mention her. And the premiere of the book in English will be probably this month or next.
So also abroad, not only in Poland.
Yeah. So I plan to publish this book on Amazon, so it will be
worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah.
So what are your friends' comments on this book? Because probably a lot of your friends have read it, who are also struggling. Parents, friends.
Yeah. So depending on the age. So I guess I heard like many positive comments from especially younger friends who are entering their 20s and like in the first half of their 20s, and they really like it. Mm-hmm. So, but like always, there are like critics and positives.
Yes. So people understand your point of views and can relate to them as well.
To most of it, because my point of view is very particular in the sense of self-development is very important, and there are like many different struggles of trying to develop myself internally, and that's also accounted for in the book.
Mm-hmm. And the one called Plac Zbawiciela, could you tell us something again about it?
Yeah, sure. So there's no relation with the film, which you probably have heard of. It's all about the place. So the Savior Square, Plac Zbawiciela, in Warsaw is a famous place for different cafes, which I love personally. I live around the corner, basically. And I really spend there a lot of time reading, writing, thinking, So that was an important place for me. So when I was in Oxford and I was thinking about Warsaw, I was thinking about Plac Zbawiciela and how great it was to actually sit in a cafe and look at all those people coming by. It's also like, for me, a place which illustrates Poland, because if you look at the building around Plac Zbawiciela, then you actually have everything from communistic buildings to old villas to the modern building with the bank in it to the church. There's absolutely everything in it. And also the crowd, it's like you have the whole mixture from like old ladies going to the church, from the young crowd, different kind of hippies, everyone is there.
It's good that you mentioned it, because I think everyone watching us who would like to come to Poland should acknowledge Plac Zbawiciela.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. And how did you become interested in artificial intelligence? Because it's something that not many people, I mean, more and more people are interested in, but I don't personally know anyone who does that.
I know a lot of them. No, so actually for me it was very natural in the process of being curious about the world. So curiosity is what drives me in everything I do, and this is how I actually started doing mathematics. I'm just curious about all the things, and like I'm asking questions like, what's this whole universe about? Like, what should we do here on Earth, or we are here? Like, what's important and stuff like that. And that brought me to questions about artificial intelligence, because you quickly, when you think about the nature of work, what is being done, what can be automated, then you might start to think that, okay, maybe we as humans shouldn't be doing all those kind of stuff. So we have already a lot of things are done by machines in terms of like manufacturing, of like industrial things, but maybe also part of our creative thinking can be automated. Because from my perspective, I'm really sad hearing all those stories of my amazing friends after like Oxford, Cambridge or London universities who actually end up working at big corporations, doing very mundane tasks, putting in hardcore hours, working up to midnight, past midnight every single day. And it's really like sacrificing their potential for like financial gain and not getting anything really in terms of creativity. So I'm thinking like how I could help them in order to like achieve more in terms of getting satisfying job. So that's like why I went to artificial intelligence. It's all about thinking about how I can automate different aspects of our reality so that it's easier for human to have a satisfying life.
Okay, thank you very much, Przemek. It was very interesting talking to you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the reenactment of one of the most historical battles that took place in Poland. The battle known as Osinka Grochowska took place 188 years ago, and it was what ultimately stopped the Russians from taking over Warsaw. In the year 1795, Poland was partitioned by three of its neighbors, Russia, Prussia, and Austria. They were wiped out of the map of Europe, but almost 30 years later, they rise up against the Russian forces in what otherwise known as the November Uprising. Thanks to this very battle, the Poles managed to stop the Russians from invading Warsaw, taking over the capital, and potentially spare the lives of thousands of civilians.
Many Poles fought on the side of France during the Napoleonic Wars. As a result, the French set up a semi-independent state called the Duchy of Warsaw in 1807. After Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo and the 1815 Congress of Vienna, Russia took control over Warsaw again. However, one of the provisions of the Congress of Vienna stipulated that the semi-autonomous status of the Duchy of Warsaw would remain in the new Russian satellite state known as the Congress Kingdom. The Polish Congress Kingdom was allowed to have its own constitution, one of the most liberal in Europe of the time. But a couple of years after the Vienna Congress, the Russian Tsar started ignoring the constitution. As a consequence, the Poles decided to revolt against the Russian Empire in 1830, an event which became known as the November Uprising.
During the November Uprising, what are the regions where the battles are most intense, and what are those battles?
Przede wszystkim odegrały rolę regiony pogranicza. Od razu zerwało się Podlasie, przez które szła armia Dybicza.
First and foremost, the bordering areas were the initial battlefronts. Podlasie region rose up quickly as the von Dybicz army was passing through it. The first three battles were actually won by Poles. The Battle of Stoczek, which took place on February 14th, 1831, made it into Polish historical anthems. The Polish cavalry captured a couple dozen Russian cannons in a spectacular raid. They obliterated the army led by Friedrich Geismar. Polish general Józef Wernicki made history as he began the heroic part of the uprising.
Pochodzenia Dybicz był niemieckim Ślązakiem, Debisz, który został wyznaczony jako wódz naczelny. Miała bardzo prosty plan: zdobyć Warszawę i pokazać Polakom.
Russians and the German intellectual elite, just like Ivan von Dybicz was a German Silesian, had a very simple plan in mind: to take over Warsaw and show Poles that they are powerless. Here is where they were mistaken, as they lost two opening battles before it came to the third and most important one, the Battle of Olszynka-Grochowska. In reality, it was a battle over Olszynka-Grochowska, which was an older forest. Why would this particular forest carry a military significance? That is because it was so thick. Mind you, it was planted on a wetland. You could not use artillery in that forest, as the trees would block the cannonballs. If you tried to shoot over the forest, the cannonballs would land too far away. That's why you had to fight. You had to demonstrate your valor as a soldier. The battle was fought with bayonets, which meant that the ones who were stronger mentally and had a mightier internal motivation won. Fights ensued 4 times when the Russian army, counting over a dozen battalions, a couple thousand people, emerged from the forest. Then, subsequent Polish regiments would attack them from north and south like a guillotine. One of these regiments made a name for themselves. They were known as Czwartacy. With the Polish anthem "Poland is not yet lost" in their hearts, they would attack huge Russian battalions. The opponents were helpless. They could not withstand the Polish spirit, this mighty moral force displayed by the men who were defending their own country, their own homeland, and finally their own families. Therefore, the Russians had been pushed out of the forest 4 times before the tired and blooded Poles retreated in order to transport the wounded. Here lies a crucial element. Those Russians who were treated and tended to by the Poles made it out alive. The Russians used a method which was known in the East, yet unacceptable in the West, which was to kill your own wounded soldiers. They believed that, considering there was no medications and doctors were a rarity, they were actually doing the wounded a favor by putting them out of the misery. Therefore, Russian casualties were 2 or even 3 times larger than ours. 6,000 Poles died, 1,200 were imprisoned, while over 15,000 Russians lost their lives in battle. As such, the Russian army became incapable of taking over Poland.
A niektórzy twierdzą nawet 3-krotnie wyższe od polskich. Polaków padło 6 000, 1200 dostało się do niewoli, Rosjan padło ponad 15. Armia rosyjska stała się niezdolna do zajęcia Polski. I o ile bitwę o Olszynkę-Grochowską określa się jako nierozegraną, to strategicznie była wygrana.
Although the result of the Battle of Olszynka-Grochowska ended up being inconclusive, from a strategic standpoint it was a Polish victory, since the attacking forces did not manage to enter Warsaw. Unfortunately, the very next battle, fought on May 26th of the same year, the Battle of Ostrołęka, was the mirror opposite of Olszynka. It was also inconclusive in its result, yet 146 cannons shooting constantly at the Polish army caused injuries to 7,000 men. Poles left Ostrołęka at a loss, and it was after that battle that the Polish spirit had broken. Main generals left their posts, nobody wanted to take over the control. A complete catastrophe was approaching, namely the attack on western Warsaw, the Wola district. The Russian army could not have been stopped, that became apparent. The entire Polish army and intellectuals had to move abroad. It was only there that the brightest intellectual stars could have their breaks. Adam Mickiewicz with his novel Pan Tadeusz, Juliusz Słowacki and his dramas, Zygmunt Krasiński, or finally Fryderyk Chopin.
Dopiero zabłysną potężne gwiazdy polskiego intelektu. To będzie Adam Mickiewicz i jego poemat Pan Tadeusz, Juliusz Słowacki, jego dramaty, Zygmunt Krasiński, no i najważniejszy Fryderyk Chopin.
One of the important consequences of the November Uprising was tens of thousands of the Polish elite being forced into political exile. Next up, we will speak with Dr. Krzysztof Jabłonka about the lasting impact they left on their new home countries.
So after the fall of the November Uprising, as I know, a lot of the Polish elites immigrated to other countries. And I was wondering if you can give us some insight about their whereabouts and what do they do, what are the business they conduct, or just in general, what do they do abroad?
Kiedy polscy dowódcy zdali sobie sprawę, że Rosji nie da się pokonać,
When Polish generals realized that Russia cannot be beaten, to save lives of their men, they arranged an evacuation to the borders of our country, a great migration. The first divisions crossed the northern point of the Polish-German border by July or August. That was the group led by Dębiński and Chłopowski. A dramatic situation occurred when a Polish officer, Skalski, shot and killed his general for being treacherous and leaving Lithuania behind. The generals, however, knew very well that there was no hope in trying to defeat an empire of Russia's size. They simply wanted to save people. The Polish parliament fled through Brodnica by the Vistula River and traveled out of the country. Subsequent dramatic events took place near Kalisz, and what's worth mentioning here is that the Polish refugees were welcomed with open arms. The migrants sang their Polish national anthem. With that melody, they would cross the border. A Slovakian poet, Samo Tomasik, witnessed such an event, and he was so moved by that scene that he created an anthem which became the song of all Slavs, named Hey Slavs. The words were original, yet the melody was taken from the Polish anthem. The Republic of Krakow, which was essentially the only free and autonomous part of Poland at the time, embraced the fleeing Poles with respect and open arms. Józef Chłopicki, a famed Polish general who rose to fame during his time in Napoleon's army, stayed in Krakow as he was crippled due to his injuries on the battlefield. Finally, Tvernicki's army, which went to Volhynia to help out Ukrainians, went on to win the Battle of Poręble, but was unfortunately encircled by the overwhelming Russian army. In order not to get slaughtered, they crossed the border to the Austrian position in Galicia and were imprisoned there. Many generals were detained in Austrian fortresses, but later, out of spite towards Russians, they were released. 4 very important Polish hubs were set up in Europe. One of them was in Paris and Poitiers. That was the place where the Polish Democratic Society was established. Additionally, the greatest Polish magnate, aristocrat, but also a spiritual leader of the uprising, Prince Adam Jerzy Czartoryski, bought a hotel in Paris named Hotel Lambert, which became the symbol of the entire Polish immigration movement. The second place where Polish Democrats gathered was London. Hamburg was also one of the spots. Finally, there was Rome, where the Polish seminary was reinstated and where the Order of the Resurrectionists was set up. They believed that as Christ was resurrected, so will be Poland. This small group, there were only 4 of them when they formed this congregation, developed the spiritual life of the Polish people. Naturally, Poles moved forward. A Polish hub was created in Constantinople, and over a dozen of our forefathers converted to Islam, creating sort of an intellectual movement in Turkey. Finally, Poles fought for the freedom of Canada. The first people to do so, the so-called hunters, moved from the US to Canada, and they were indeed Polish. One Pole found his way to Chile and discovered copper there. He became a national hero. He was called Ignacy Domejko. One of the travelers who was under duty of the British Army went on to discover and climb Australia's tallest mountain. He promptly named it after Tadeusz Kościuszko.
Pojawią się we wszystkich narodach świata. Jeden z podróżników, Paweł Strzelecki w służbie brytyjskiej, odkryje i zdobędzie najwyższy szczyt Australii. Nazwie go imieniem Tadeusza Kościuszki.
As we can observe, the memories of the historical battles are still kept alive and well, even centuries after the battles have taken place. Clearly, the struggle for national sovereignty is still a key value within the Polish collective memory. That's it for today. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome back to Poland Daily Travel. We're glad you tuned in. Oh, we're glad you're watching us on YouTube. Lots of stuff to see. Your best source for travel information about Poland. We'll be venturing forth soon to exciting sites around Poland and nearby. But today we're in Warsaw and we're focusing on the Warsaw Old Town. We start at St. Anna's Church and talk about its significance and how Poland saved Europe twice. That's right, count it, twice. We'll be looking at some of the secrets of the old town, some of the stories and vignettes, and just two guys going for a walk on a sunny day. So stay with us on Poland Daily Travel. We're really glad you tuned in, because why do we do this? We do it for you. Stay with us. All right, so we are back, Poland Daily, in Warsaw Old Town. We are walking around in Warsaw Old Town, and there's a few people around.
Yeah, that's cool.
And this is the place where Christmas is never over, apparently, not even at Valentine's Day. I remember there was a poem by Ernest Hemingway which went, "If my Valentine you won't be, I'll hang myself on the Christmas tree." Because Hemingway never took down his Christmas tree, apparently, until Valentine's Day. Or, anyway, he liked Christmas.
Okay.
Almost as much as they do here, right?
Well, when we hear this music in here, we feel like rocking, are we not?
You feel like rocking, do you? You feel like a wild and crazy guy, do you?
Yeah, it's Friday, almost night, because the sun sets pretty fast at the moment in our beautiful country. So, as they
Great
sing...
Scott, man.
Yeah. Oh, let's take a peek in here.
You want to look in here?
Let's take a look. We are having...
interesting. What do they have?
Well, usually they have sausages in here with mustard, the pickled proper cucumbers.
Wow.
Or there are sandwiches with lard, and these cucumbers, once again, these pickles, or however you call them. And
I like a lot of lard. I like to get some lard and just eat it. Or I just, instead of eating it, I just rub it on my belly.
I understand. Meeting you was a pleasure. How about hot chocolate?
You want a hot chocolate or do you want a mulled wine?
Hot chocolate looks fine.
Okay, you want a hot chocolate? Make it 2 hot chocolates. Yeah?
Yeah.
You got any money?
Well, of course I do. Or I can wash the dishes eventually.
I haven't got any change.
Hey, have it.
You take a credit card?
Yeah. Look, we have it.
Okay.
And by the way, we have a great opportunity to talk about a Polish king that's printed right in here, Władysław Jagiełło. His name comes from Lithuanian Jogail, which means very strong. And he started Polish Jagiellonian dynasty. So we don't even know that we have our most important dynasty in our history coming from the Lithuanian name, Jogail. And he's the guy who won the battle in Grunwald. And that's why he's in here on 100, and let's use it.
Somebody stop him. It's impossible to stop him.
Why?
This guy. Let me wind him up.
But that's not lard you are using over there.
No.
Okay.
Just winding the key in your back.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I was not massaging your back with lard.
Okay, I
not
understand.
Yet.
Well,
I wouldn't do that anyway.
You are missing cucumbers anyways.
I wouldn't do that without permission. It's not the sort of guy I am.
Okay, have mercy, please.
No, before I put lard on somebody, I always ask nicely if I can.
Well, I will ask the lady from the window up over there.
Here's the lady here. You want? Can we have some lard, please?
And that's how it is in here, Warsaw's Old Town. This is what people are doing in here, having fun, spending time, walking around. And,
are we having fun yet?
Are we having fun yet? I think that this is what Russell Crowe, Gladiator, asked the audience if they are having fun yet. So are you having fun yet?
Czekolada będzie? 2 razy, proszę. Yeah, she's ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. We're about to get some hot chocolate. Stay with us
for the exciting continuation of another episode of Poland Daily Travel, where Arthur and Will drink chocolate.
We'll behave ourselves.
Stay tuned. We promise not to get too crazy. We're back. We have chocolate, and there is no vodka in it, I assure you. We've had our lard sandwiches, and we're extremely happy with Tatiana, who has prepared this wonderful chocolate for us. Actually, she just poured it because it's sitting in this chocolate maker. So we're extremely happy at this point. I'd like to thank you, Pani Tatiana. Thank you. Spasiba and dziękuję. Okay.
Thick one,
Let's,
rich.
Cheers.
Na zdrowie.
Na zdrowie, exactly. That's good chocolate. Soundman's got chocolate as well. You happy, Soundman? Yeah. Soundman's happy. He just growls. He doesn't speak like a normal person. He's not, I don't know if he can speak. I've only ever heard him just go, ah. Yeah, there he is again. I don't know. He's a wild animal, this Soundman. Yes, life is always better after a hot chocolate, I always say.
Yes, indeed. That makes two of us.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, as we said before.
Exactly.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world, and always a good time for hot chocolate, especially going around the old town of Warsaw. Let's go this way.
Let's do it. So,
yeah, here, here are some famous old restaurants. But what is it? Bazyliszek?
Bazyliszek. There is a legend about Bazyliszek.
Yeah, it's right
which
here.
is a combination of a lizard, a dragon, and a chicken, which we can see right over there above us. There is this little sculpture.
Oh, wait, here.
Of Bazyliszek, and it has its special eyes. And if you look in his eyes, you will turn into stone. And that was a very big problem.
Wait a second, I just looked in his eyes.
So don't look at me. Okay, but the creature is killed.
Wait, I'm turned to stone.
Okay, so in the meantime, I will tell you the legend.
Okay.
So there was this little boy who figured it out how to kill the Bazyliszek. So he went to Bazyliszek with a mirror, and the Bazyliszek looked at the mirror and turned into stone itself. And that's how this little young gentleman killed Bazyliszek, and nowadays it's a legend about it. And there are many little souvenirs and restaurants with a name like this. So everything happens in the same place. Everything happens in the central section of the old town, which is the main market square, and so many reasons for conversations we have in one place.
But this isn't, I don't understand anything you just said. I know it was intelligent though. But I wanted to ask you, how old is this restaurant? Because it's been here a long time, hasn't it?
So, this restaurant has been in here ever since I can remember.
I like that. And what combination is this crazy animal? The Bazyliszek?
So it has
Again?
an Bazyliszek.
Yeah, Bazyliszek.
Bazyliszek.
It's easy for me to say.
It has a body of a lizard, but legs and wings of a dragon, a head of a chicken. So it's
a head of a chicken?
A head of a chicken.
It was good until you got to the chicken.
In Krakow, they have this amazing legend of their Wawel dragon that was eating virgins every day. So Warsaw also needed some legend.
Good Lord, I hope they caught it.
and that
dragon would starve these days.
Poland Daily Travel, stay with us.
We'll be right back. We continue our walk. What did you say again? Poland, what?
Poland Daily Travel.
Oh, yeah.
Stay with us.
Stay with us.